See how I shifted the blame. Okay, so the idea of grabbing. So when somebody grabs you, it's very instinctive for you to grab back. It's like a handshake. Somebody sticks their hand out. You have to, it's subconscious that you want to grab the hand. Um, so when somebody grabs, you want to grab, right? But did you want to grab? Maybe that's not what you wanted to do, right? So first of all, the mind has to be quite free in these situations because we easily want to copy what we see. Okay, at an extreme level, you'll see it with rioting and looting. When a mob, a big group, starts to go crazy, one person throws a chair through a window, it's like other people feel that they can do it too. Meaning, these might be people that would never do this, right? But once somebody does it, they say, well, somebody did it, and they blame the next guy. So it's like I have an excuse. Well, he did it or she did it, then I can do it. So it's very much like this, right? You really need to be free in the mind to say when somebody grabs you to push them away. Okay, you really is something you need to do. Or you want to create distance, right? You want to create distance from the person. So at the end of the day, sorry guys, another call coming in. At the end of the day, the push represents a punch, okay? It represents a punch, and a punch represents a distance, okay? Does that make sense? It represents a distance. So the distance of a grab is much closer than that of a strike. Strike needs more distance. So as the grab is coming in, you have already needed to bring your arm forward, okay, to meet it in the right spot, okay? Now, how many of you boxed before? Okay, so what's the idea of the jab? The jab is really not a hurt the person. It's a distance finder. It's a range finder. You're trying to get a feel for where the person is, right? It's the same in anything. But I found the range, right? The first hand, listen, if it was perfect, great. But when my first hand touches a person, right? When I start to push, it basically is like the whiskers of a cat. It gives me proprioception of where the person is in space. They become real by touching them. It's like, a friend you haven't seen for a long time and you just touch them and says, oh my God, is that you? Like, you touched them, right? Now, but what it also tells me is where this hand is going to go. It really is for this hand, but it could be for this hand, but it really is for this hand. It's telling me where to go, because when I push against the person, I'm trying to find out whether I'm meeting resistance or weight. Now, resistance I can work against. I can punch a guy and make him change his mind, but weight, that's a whole other ballgame. That's a whole other ballgame, okay? It's like, you have to understand that it comes down to weight at some point. If all the person's weight is on top of me, I can punch all day long and it's not going to affect the person. I have to find the spot where there is not a weight advantage, okay? You guys, does that make sense? I hope that makes sense to you guys, right? So I'm feeling like where is the right spot for me to push, where I have the most leverage, where it is the easiest to do so, right? Some people, just the way they're positioned, they just won't move. They just won't move, right? But a little bit to the left, and it's much easier to do it, right? You've seen that, I'm sure, right? In rugby, you guys know I played rugby. This scrum comes in, which is a group of 8 guys on this side, 8 guys on this side, and they all come in. If everything is the same, nothing moves. The first group that gets a little bit lower than the other will push the other one up, okay? The problem is too low and everybody falls. So there's a point where you're past the point where it goes down. So the idea is that you've got to be just a tiny bit, like that much lower, and you're going to push it up. That's how it works, right? So sometimes when your hand feels a little bit to one side and the push is much easier, the strike is much easier to come in on the person, okay? That's what we did a lot of today in class, okay? A lot of this kind of have somebody grab you, push them away, push them away, push them away. From the ground, from the knees, from standing, from the wall, all this. That's basically, that sums up the week of training. I did it with the kids. I did it with that. You saw the picture. I think I put it on about the kids class, did the exact same thing. Now, pushing, okay? Pushing is a pressure, okay? You guys understand what that means, right? So I want you to imagine like a tire pump. I put pressure into the tire, okay? When I put my hand on somebody, I pressurize my body and I release the pressure forward. Okay. I don't push through my shoulder and through my muscles. I pressurize the body and I give that pressure, right? Is that not how you get upset? The body gets buildup of pressure and it's like, and it just blows, right? It just blows, right? And if you don't, hang around your kids a little bit more and you'll see what I mean by pressure. It'll build up, right? It'll build up no matter what age they're at. Karen, are you writing all this down? Are you getting all of it? It's okay. It'll be here forever. You'll get it. What I wanted to show you today, though, it's been a while since I've shown it. There's a practice that I do every week, every other week. I call it sharpening the sword, where it's like I want to make sure that my arms and my legs and my body is kind of like sharpened and ready for use, but I'm not really using it. It's kind of like in preparation. So it's like, I don't know if you guys have a knife. I always keep my knife clean, or my weapons. I always make sure my weapons are clean so that when I decide to use them, they're ready to go, right? Nothing worse than shooting a dirty gun. Bugs me. Nothing worse than going to use a knife when it's dull. It's like, it's horrible. It needs to be good and sharp, right? So there's a certain things that I do that make sure that my legs and my arms and my body is ready for when I need it for martial arts. And I'm talking about training, of course, right? But also real life. Like, I need to be able to do this. So you guys, can I show you this? It would be nice, I think, to show you guys this work, right? It's very simple and done. It's not meant to be done as a final. It's almost like I said, it's just something that prepares the weapon or you for when you'll need it. I don't know when you'll need it, but when you need it, everything needs to be sharp. It needs to be sharp and ready to go, okay? So stand up if you can. Follow along, ask me questions anytime. But I'll just kind of walk you through some stuff I do, okay? I usually start with my legs. Now, there's no particular reason, but I believe that for me, it's just because I've messed up my legs for years of sports before Systema. And I like to make sure they're always good, right? So follow along. You guys can hear me good? You guys got me good? Okay, good. Sure. So start with your ankles. So start to roll your ankles, just your ankles, right? Now, of course, the knees are going to move, but really focus on just the ankles, okay? Try to focus in on the ankles. And then the same movement, but change your focus now to your knees. So the knees start to kind of move. They can move in either direction. Now, of course, the ankle is going to move and the hip is going to move, but my focus is on the knee. And then the hips. Now, I'm doing the hips together at first. So I kind of move both my hips together, and it's going to move and my legs are going to move, but the real focus for me is on my hips. And I'm just kind of paying attention to how they feel. Like I have, I don't know, this week I have tightness on my left side, which is unusual. So I'm just kind of, I can feel that, and that's fine. It's in my radar, and I'm just kind of work through it. And then I'll shift and I'll kind of work with one hip. Okay. There's no real right or wrong way. You can make a figure eight or you can make a circle, right? Now the leg is moving, but my main focus is on the hip. Then I'll shift to the other one. And I can feel a difference right away for myself because it just feels a little tight on the back of this one. So I'm trying to relax a little bit more. Again, I'm usually a fan of two movements, either figure eights or circles. One or the other, those are pretty good. Or swings and pendulum movements, they're okay too. Okay, start to shake the legs. Okay, now by shaking your legs, it's like I want to shake them and I want to feel my muscle like vibrating around it. So it's like I don't want to feel my bones, but I want to shake my legs in such a way. It's like if you can see it better with my arm, it's like I feel the skin and the muscle like loose, not stuck to my bones. And if it is, that tells me a different thing, right? It tells me something else. And I just start to shake my ankle or shake my knee or shake my hip, right? So it's like I'm shaking all the joints in the leg, and I want to keep the leg nice and light. And I kind of bounce from one to the other, and I just start to shake my leg, and I shake it and I lift it a little bit. So it's like I'm shaking and I'm lifting as high as I can with my balance, right? And always all directions. Like that's the other thing. For me, if I'm going to use my legs, I might need to be front, side, or back. Like so, I make sure that my legs can move in all directions. Good. How do your legs feel? They feel light. They should feel kind of really alive. Like they feel, this is how you want your legs. They feel loose, especially the muscle around is like by vibrating it like that, my legs, it's like I get rid of, I try not to get the muscle stuck on the bone. It feels kind of that it can move all around, right? So now find a nice position for like a squat, right? And very slowly, we're going to go down, 10 being the bottom and 10, we're going to come up, right? So 1, so we slowly start to go down in a squat. 2, 3, 4, 5 should be halfway. Relax your body, keep breathing. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And slowly come up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5's halfway. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Give your legs a shake again. Keep loose, keep them loose. Little bit wider apart your legs. So outside your shoulders, right? Outside your shoulder distance, right? Again, 10 is the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 should be halfway. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Up we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So to shake them again, just get rid of any tension from the squat, especially, right? Because the muscles will have been active. Now you're trying to relax those muscles. Now, there's no set number. I could do 20 seconds down, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 40. Don't get fixated on the number. By doing a squat, bring blood toward the legs and they start to become heavier. So can you feel your legs a little bit heavier than before you did the squat? They should feel a little bit heavier, right? A tiny bit. You don't need much. Every day will be different. Like when I train myself personally, I don't put, it depends how I feel. If I have lots of energy, of course, I'll train harder. If I don't, I still want to do it and not pass it, but modify it so that I feel that I can feel my legs are heavy. Now, I'm going to start to kick, and the kicks are going to be, and I want you to just watch me. So do like a front kick, like just something in the front. Okay, go try it. Yeah, just do one. Yeah, just one. Boom, boom. So there's a straight line, right? Now you're going to have your leg go at 9 o'clock and come across to 3 o'clock. So it's like that. So your leg comes across. Yeah. So it comes in from left to right or right to left. Okay. Excellent. Now your leg is going to come from up to, so it's going to come from 6 to 12. Doesn't matter how high. I don't care. From 6 to 12. That's it. Right. So 6 to 12, 6 to 12, 9 to 3, 3 to 9, straight and straight. So now you can do everything in between a clock now. So think of a clock. So if the leg comes in at 5 o'clock, it's going to go out at, so try to think of every angle possible. So think of a clock and think of every angle that your foot can come in, right? So I came in at 11, I came out at 5, right? Now, you don't have to go high. You can go low. It doesn't matter. But for you, you try to think about your feet, your heels, and just envision a clock and going in on one level and coming down at another level. So watch me for a sec, guys. So let's say 12 o'clock was my waist, okay? So you don't need to kick very high. I'm a big proponent of all kicking should be below the waist, personally. The higher the kick goes, the more vulnerable you are to falling and tripping and getting your leg grabbed. So watch, I'm gonna go slow. My leg comes in at 12 and then goes down at 6. So it just comes to my waist level. There's 12 o'clock, there comes 6 o'clock. Yeah, so if you think of it like that, now I can go 11 to 5, right here, into 5, right? Or I can go 9 to 3, or I can go 5 to 11, right? So you don't have to go high. It can be, the circle can be quite low, right? Try it, yeah, try it a few times. Try work with the weight of your legs, just the weight of your leg. There's no bag or there's no pad that you have to make a sound. So just work with the movements of your legs. Now, if you start to feel the legs become tense, start to shake them again. Shake the tension out. Shake the tension out, and then try it again. The legs need to be tension free. They're the legs are so heavy, guys. Everybody's legs is more than enough to hurt somebody. Doesn't matter. Doesn't need much. You just need to relax your legs. Nice, guys. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, good, good. So just try this for a bit. Just slap the bottom of your foot. Just slap it, yeah. Now, when you stand, watch when you use your legs, how you put it back nicer. Look how when you put it back, you put it back much softer. It's more on the touch, right? Okay, what I see some of you doing, guys, is when you make the kick and then you step very heavy. Like you put, like for you, you should just place your foot back down nicely. Don't slam it. Don't slam it into the ground. You shouldn't even hear how you put it down. Yeah, lightly touch it. You put the leg down because you're going to move again. You're not putting it down. You're never going to use it again. That's it. That's better. Now, if I had the whip and I whipped your bottom of your foot, you'd have incredible sensitivity on the bottom of your foot. Incredible sensitivity, right? Okay, good enough. You got it. Now, we're going to take that idea, but to the left and right of us, okay? So now there's two clocks over here, not in front anymore. They're over here. So the same thing. I'm going to be sideways so you can see it. So there's 9 o'clock, there's 3 o'clock, right? Here's 12 and 6, 6 and 12, right? So on either side of you, right? So you have 2 clocks going. So try to envision the leg coming in at one time and going out at the other time. Try to imagine the angles. Think of the 5 to 11. Think of the 4 to 2. But try to give all those angles, right? And then the same idea with the back. So everything back here. So there's a clock behind me. So here's the 6 to 12, right? Here's the 12 to 6. 3 to 9. Straight back, straight back. Now, this is more challenging. I understand the back is more challenging, but try to visualize a clock, and visualize how your leg is going to go through that. So try. Of course, back is more challenging. Maybe start lower. Okay, come close, guys. Okay. So, because again, I don't know what I'm going to do with my legs yet. I could be dealing with somebody that's coming in front of me. I could be dealing with somebody that's coming from the side. I could be dealing with somebody from behind me. So I'm just sharpening my legs and seeing how, because if you don't practice kicking backwards, you won't be able to do it if you didn't practice this movement, right? So I'm not imagining bad guys, because that kind of gets old after a while in martial arts. I like to envision a clock, right? And how my leg comes in and how it goes out, right? And try to visualize that, because it's not the people, how they grab you from different areas. Their head could be over here, the target area can be different, right? I could be kicking an ankle, I could be kicking a face, I could be kicking a hand with a knife, I could be kicking, I don't know what it is. But I know I need to know how to use my legs from front, side, and back. Make sense? Okay. Now, that's just my feet now. I haven't focused on my knees yet. So the knees are similar. It's like fists and elbows. They're the same movement, right? Like it can be the same movement, but it's kind of different too. So now I want you to take that same idea of a clock, okay? And again, maybe a good way of looking at it is when you think of a clock, try to start with 12, 6, 9, 9, and 3. And then add the other ones in. But at least check that your legs can go. So tomorrow, when you're training and somebody grabs you from the back, you know how to do this little tricky kick because you practiced it. Like somebody behind you and you just kind of whack them in a certain way, right? Or they're coming in from the side and you're able to use your knee sideways, okay? Does it make sense, or have I lost everybody? No? Okay. So try this with your knees. Please don't envision hurting people or attacks. Just think of a clock. And now we'll do the same thing with our knees. So stand up. So it's like knee comes forward, right? So there's the knee coming from 6 to 12. There's the knee coming from 3 to 9, 9 to 3, and vice versa, okay? Every angle. Here's 5 to 11. Here's 7 to 1, right? So all these different ways. And then you change the clock and put it beside you. So it's the same idea, but now it's, can I use my knees to the left and to the right? And then behind me, so from the back, right? How is it, guys? Come close. Now, I'll tell you, the knee one, I think has served me the most, to be really honest with you, okay? Because most of us have very tight hips from sitting too much. And just this idea of a clock and moving your hips and moving your knee to sideways and behind you keeps my hips so open. It really is a huge benefit. So there's, yes, it's martial arts, and yes, you're using it for Systema, but the health benefits to the hips and low back is pretty immense when you do this work. Again, does not take long. I don't do this forever. This whole thing would take me 15 minutes. I'm just explaining it now. It takes a little bit longer, right? The last one I'm going to do is my hips. Now, hip strikes are interesting, okay? So they're not as dynamic as, of course, because it's a small movement. So I want you to think of a punch. I want you to think of an elbow, and then I want you to think about a shoulder, okay? So shoulder is such a small limb, right? It only has a very short period of time. But imagine if we're wrestling and I grabbed you, and look how close the shoulder is. The shoulder is, when people are in hand-to-hand conflicts, the shoulder is right there if you know how to use it. Okay, if you know how to use it. Okay, if somebody grabs me from a choke in the back, if I know how to use my shoulder, it's a perfect distance. My elbow is too long, my shoulder is perfect, okay? The hips are very similar, especially like you see it in judo, right? Like when they're really close together, knowing how to move your hips, okay? So how to push them forward and how to push them back, how to push them to the left, how to push them to the right, right? Like this way, okay? So imagine the person grabbing you and you right away, boom, you can give a quite a surprising impact to a person if you know how to move this area, right? So if somebody were to grab me around the waist, I could push my hips back, giving me space, right? If somebody were to grab me from the back, I can throw my hips forward, giving me space, right? Because I'm trying to create space, right? So move your hips to one side, move your hips to another side. You can think about, I don't know, checking somebody, I don't know, giving them a hip check, a good friend in high school or something, I don't know. And then backwards. And forwards, right? Just forwards. Now, yeah, backwards, sideways bumps, forward and back, right? So forward, back, left, right, left, right, forward, back. Small movements, they might only be 2-3 inches, doesn't have to be big, right? Karen, you want to ask me a question? Is that why you're, no? Okay, let me show you, something I did to somebody a long time ago. Let's see if you guys can see it, okay? Person was coming from behind me to grab me, choke me. A real life situation. So this will be the person. I kind of looked to the side and I could see that they were getting close behind me to grab me. And what I did was I jumped straight up in the air, and at the very top, I stuck my ass out. So the person came from behind like this. As soon as I jumped, my ass was right in their face, and I hit them with my ass, literally in their face, okay? Jammed their neck pretty bad. They could not proceed at all. It looked something like this. Okay? Now, what do you say to a person that just jumped and shoved his ass in your face? there's really, other than, I'm sorry to bother you, sir. It really is. There's nothing on their repertoire that covers that, okay? There's nothing. I'll show you another thing that happened to me. Grab, pushing a person down, but you know how people get stubborn here, right? They won't go down past that halfway point. And me knowing how to use my hip, right? So depending, sometimes if the thing that you want to hit, if it comes by this point, the hip is easiest to use, right? There's some funny footage of Michael. I don't know if I've seen, yeah, exactly, Miro, exactly. Where, Alberto, I don't know if you've seen it, right? There's a clip where this guy's head, there was so much head movement. He had a lot of good head movement. And Michael just kept putting his fist there, and the other hand directed his face towards the hand that was waiting. No. And at some point, it was a 10-minute clip. And Michael, with the translator, said to the guy, can you please stop putting your face on my fist? And that was exactly what he was doing. It was like, he make a fist, and the guy was bringing his face to the fist because he knew where it would be, right? When people start to grab you, especially the grapplers, right? Like they usually come low after your legs, right? They grab the legs and they put their head on the side of your hip. If you know how to work with your hip, it's quite effective. Okay, it's quite effective, right? In hockey, one of the most dangerous checks is the hip check, right? And that's quite a dangerous check because it's the heaviest part of your body. So it's one of those things I like to practice with it because it's ridiculously powerful and a big surprise. Nobody practices this, so it's quite a good surprise. So watch what I did. We started with the feet, we went to the knees, and we went to the hips. And the vision was circles. We saw a clock, okay? So I didn't train for anything specific, but I prepared my legs for however I'll need to use them, right? So tomorrow, this movement here can be one that I use not to kick somebody, but to stop a door that's about to close, right? A door or close a cupboard. I'm just saying, whatever my legs need to do, they're ready, okay? Make sense? So it's like, this is a way of sharpening your leg. So you don't need to kick a bag. You don't need to kick a wall. You don't need to, you need to use your legs more in different angles so that tomorrow when you're training and you need them, you remember that you do them. So that checks off that box, okay? Yeah. So just try to go by what you feel, right? Like for me, my legs need to obey my commands at all time. They need to, whatever I need them to do. If I need to run, they run. If I need to jump, they jump. If I need to kick, they kick. I need to take care of them, okay? Make sense? Questions at all, anything? Okay. So please practice this, right? It's a real good, like if you get to class early and you've got 10 minutes, you can do this in 10 minutes. It doesn't take long and your legs are like ready. Or you can do it on an off day that you're training, right? As part of a leg routine of some sort, right? So I would go to the gym when I was a beginner student. I was working out with weights still quite a bit, but I said for 10 minutes of my workout, I'm going to do a Systema leg workout. And it really helped me to bring more awareness. I didn't kick a bag. I didn't do any of that. I just did this stuff. And it really, it's a practice that stuck with me for a long time, okay? Now, let's do the same thing with our arms, right? So we're standing up, right? We're shaking our arms out, right? We're shaking our arms. We're just shaking our arms, okay? And we're gonna make kind of some circles with the wrists. And then at the same time, we're gonna make some circles with our elbows. So I'm just focusing on, circles with my elbows now. So there's wrists, the focus is on the wrist, then the elbows, and then the shoulders. I got my shoulders happening. So I'm checking in and making sure that I can shift my focus wherever I want. Shoulders, elbow, wrist, elbow, shoulder, wrist. So whatever my mind thinks of, wherever focus goes, is what it does. Like sometimes, I'm focusing on my elbow. Meanwhile, I see everything moving out of control. When you look at me, you should be able to know where my focus is. Right? So I do that with all the body parts: shoulder, elbow, wrist, shoulder, elbow, wrist. And then I give it a shake. So now I want to feel my muscles, right? I want to feel the muscles loose on top of the bones of the arm. And then I'm going to start to shake them in all different directions. So forward, above me, beside me, behind me. When I feel I've got all the tension out, I'm going to go down into a push-up, and we're going to do a 10-second push-up down. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then a 10-second up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, halfway, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Shake out my arms again. So now I'm shaking out any tension that would have come from the push-up. And then one more time. Again, 10 seconds down. 1, keep breathing. 2, 3, 4, 5, it's halfway. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Up we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, halfway. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Shake your arms again. Get rid of any tension. So what I want to be left with is heavy arms. I don't want to have tension. Like, we show up to training with lots of tension. This is a way of relaxing my arm, but inserting heavy weight, like of relaxation, not tension of the day, right? So when I shake my arms, I'm constantly I'm relaxing the muscles, and I'm feeling the weight. Right? I'm trying to feel the weight, right? Anybody ever had the blood circulation cut to their hand? And it's like you want to shake the blood into it, right? Like when you're shaking the blood into it. Now, the same process. I'm going to think of a clock. So here's the straight, right? Here's the straight. So right in the middle of the clock. And then I have 12 to 6, 6 to 12, 11 to 5, 1 to 7. So for me, it's like, so any which way, right? Now look how much better that feels for your arms than it does for your legs. Look how much freer, right? It's not that they're freer. Your legs are heavy. Your arms are lighter, so they're more mobile. They're faster. Legs are slow and heavy. It's a big bullet, right? So look at the angles. For me, this is good, right? This is quite powerful, but this is just as powerful and it's faster. So the 45 degree is really quite fast, right? And when you look at the 45 degree, one side of the neck, the other side of the neck, right? So it's a really interesting strike that many people don't utilize, right? There's, of course, the hooking motion, the uppercut motion, the down cut motion, right? Now the side. Now we do the sides. So think of two clocks on either side of you, right? So 12 to 6, 12 to 6, 6 to 9, 6 to 12, 9 to 3, and every angle in between. So if somebody grabs you from the side, you can feel just as comfortable striking sideways as you do in front of you. Like, but you have to practice, right? And then lastly, behind you, right? Good. Back to the front, elbows now. The same thing. Think of the clock, elbows, right? So 6 to 12, 12 to 6, 3 to 9. Try to slow it down so that you can literally really see it. Like you can actually see the moves. Slow becomes fast, guys. Don't worry. Slow becomes fast. Try to be aware of what you're doing. And then beside you, so left and right of you. And then behind you, lastly, with your elbows. Then hold your hands and shoulders now. So again, up, down, back, forward, forward, up, up, down, back, back. So how to bump somebody to one side, bump somebody to the other side, bump somebody in front, bump somebody in the back. Let's think of how use a shoulder check, right? How to hit somebody with your shoulder, right? Forward, backwards, backwards, sideways, sideways. Hey guys, come close. How was it? How do you feel? Could you see that if you did that even for 5 minutes or 10 minutes at the end of a workout, right? So you do whatever you want, but just kind of shaking out tension, inserting heaviness in the arms, and working at being comfortable using them front, side, back. Like this way, you're not. That's why I think I don't worry about how people come at me from the back or from the side, because I'm just as comfortable using my elbows from the side and the back as from any direction, right? Make sense? So ask questions if you have, guys, or it's all good. Yeah, so I'm not really preparing for anything, but it's kind of like, well, if I had to prepare for I don't know what, this is about as close as it's gonna get, right? Now, what is unique about this is that your eye, how I see things in front of me is different than how I see things beside me, is different how I see things behind me. Okay. Now, I don't know how else to explain it to you. So I did some I've done a lot of gun shooting, and I do competitions for guns. I don't post it on media because everyone thinks you're a terrorist if you do. So I don't post it. But when I'm shooting a target in front of me, there will be a target beside me as well. So from one shot, I have to turn this way. Now, my eye here, in theory, should be the same here, but it's not. If the target presents itself above, my eye up here is different. And my eye this way is also different. So how your eye sees a target is very interesting, right? So a target meaning if I want to punch somebody in front of me, I clearly know, but from the side, unless you practice, you don't know. You don't know, right? How many of you have fired a shotgun? A little bit, right? Okay. So there's a fun sport of shotgun called skeet and trap shooting. And this is where they throw little clay balls and you have to shoot them, right? Every target that goes from my left to my right, I can hit almost every time. But when it goes from my right to my left, I miss every other one. My same eye, but for some reason, it's different this way as it is that way. And it's just the way your eye sees it, right? You have to understand how that affects your accuracy, right? So I love practicing this a lot to make sure that I know how to be accurate from behind, not just in front. Okay, because you want to hit what you're going for, I hope, right? Try to take this exercise as something that will prepare you for a lot of different things, but no one specific thing. Makes sense? I don't know how it'll fit in, but try that, right? Karen, you had a question?
Yeah, I do. In light of what you're saying about your eyes and perception, how can we practice that either with a partner or alone?
Well, you can practice it. So when I was playing baseball, I mean, I would look at first base, but home plate was further, and third was, so all these distances were a little bit different and at different angles. And the way I threw to first was different than the way I threw to third is different than the way I threw to home plate. And it's just by actually doing it. So the first thing is doing what I said is just imagining a clock, okay? And then later in class, you would add focus pads maybe, and you would see how come I always hit the focus pad in front of me, but to the side, I'm not hitting dead center, or behind me, I'm missing it completely. So you need to kind of know how to be accurate without seeing the whole picture, right? You ever get some guys are really good at, with a little bit of information, figuring out a puzzle. You ever, like when you're spelling a sentence, they give you a few letters and you say that word is, and you got it, right? Like Jeopardy or that open, right? That kind of stuff. When I'm in front, I have the whole picture in front of me, but from the side, I don't have my full vision. I only have a little bit of it, right? The closer the person comes, the less I'm seeing of the whole picture, right? Behind me, I might get a glance, a little bit, as I turn, right? I'm not talking about face, like you don't have that kind of time. I have it and I look, that's all I've got time for. Or like that, like a little behind me, right? Like when I jumped and threw my ass in that guy's face, I literally just turned like this. And from the corner of my eye, I saw how close he was. I didn't even know where he was. I just knew that if I jumped straight in the air, he was not going to expect it, right? But I had actually practiced it. I just never thought I would use it. There was a time my dad had 4 refrigerators in the garage, 4. He found 2 from somebody that was throwing them out. We had an old one and we had a new one inside. And he said, don't worry, Emmanuel, somebody will want these. He had the foresight. All those fridges were gone in less than a month. People needed them. I just couldn't believe that people needed fridges that much, right? I practiced that jumping move with my butt because I thought it was just cool. I never thought I'd actually use it, right? But I did, and it worked really well. So all these little things that we practice, we'll remember them if we practice them, is what I'm trying to get at. Like you'll find a way to use it. So I sharpen my arms, I sharpen my legs to do what I need. We didn't get to the body, but I should show the body next week. It's fine, just to give you some more ideas of this, right? It's the same thing with a knife. It's the same thing with a stick. It's the same thing with a sword. Envision a clock with the time, and imagine it going in and going out of the clock. And then all you need now is something to happen, and you've already got the motion down packed, okay? No? Anyway, guys, I wanted to show you that. It's been a while since I've done something like that. And I try to practice this at least every other week. Like I try to make some room for it. It doesn't take long for me. I've been doing it for so long. But I do find that when I don't practice it with some regularity, like at least once a month or something, I don't know, it's like you have the skill, but you don't remember you have the skill. Like it's not there, right? It's like the more often I use something, I remember I still have it. If there's a tool in my shed and I don't use it much, when I need it, I'll be struggling to find it. Where is it? I don't know where I put it. I forget where I put it, right? But if I use it every week, I know exactly where it is. I know exactly where that tool is. And it's kind of like that. You use it to remind yourself where it is and that you have that tool still in your belt, okay? Have a great weekend, guys. I'll see you next Friday, okay?
Thank you, Manny.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you, Manny.
Enjoy it, everybody.
Have a nice
Yeah.
weekend.
You
Bye.
too,
Bye.
guys.
See you guys.
Bye.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.